Sins of God's Grandchildren, Malachi 1, 1 through 3 and 18. Part 1 of 2. Introduction. The title of our study is actually a misnomer. A, for God does not have grandchildren per se. B, he has only children who become such through faith in Christ, Galatians 3, 26 through 27. Yet I seek to stimulate your thinking with this title. 2. True children of God do have children, physical offspring. A, who often appear to follow in the footsteps of their parents' faith. B, yet it is not uncommon for them to lack the same conviction. It is these grandchildren to which I have reference in this study. 3. In the book of Malachi we find a similar situation. A, the restoration under Ezra and Nehemiah occurred several generations earlier. B, the descendants of those restored Jews did not have the same zeal and focus in their faith. Malachi was sent to rebuke the sins of this later generation. There are parallels today. When children are blessed to have Christian parents or grandparents, the sins of the grandchildren of Malachi's day often appear in the grandchildren of today. To see how, let's first review the sins of God's grandchildren in Malachi's day. A, they doubted God's love. 1. They evidently questioned his love for them, Malachi 1:2. 2. God reasserted his love for Israel, Malachi 1:2. B. They dishonored God's name. 1. By offering blemished sacrifices, Malachi 1:6 through 11. A. They offered God what they would be embarrassed to offer men. B. The Lord even wished someone would shut the doors so they could not sacrifice. B. By offering half-hearted worship, Malachi 1:12 through 14. A. Profaning God's name by saying his service was contemptible and a weariness. B. Those who continued to bring blemished sacrifices would fall under God's curse. C. They desecrated God's covenant. 1. By marrying heathen women, Malachi 2:10 through 12. A. They dealt treacherously and profaned the covenant made with their fathers by marrying pagan women, the daughter of a foreign god. B. This problem is described more fully in Ezra 9 and 10, Nehemiah 13:23 and 24. C. Malachi prayed that the Lord would cut off from Jacob those who did this, Malachi 2:12, Ezra 10:7 and 8, and Nehemiah 13:23 through 28. 2. By divorcing their Jewish wives, Malachi 2:13 through 16. A. Despite their weeping, God was no longer regarding their sacrifices. B. For they had dealt treacherously with the wives of their youth, Jewish wives, by divorcing them. 1. Even though they had entered into a covenant, till death do us part. 2. Even though God made them one, Genesis 2:24. C. Therefore God hated divorce, Malachi 2:16. 1. For it covered one's garment with violence against the wife and children. 2. It was treacherous to deal so with one's spouse in that way. D. They disparaged God's patience. 1. They tried God's patience, wearying him with their words, Malachi 2:17. 2. Especially by questioning his justice. A. They said that those who do evil is good in God's sight, and he even delights in them. B. They ask, where is the God of justice? 3. God's response was to send his messengers, Malachi 3:1 through 5. A. First the messenger, John the Baptist, who would prepare the way. B. Then the messenger of the covenant, Jesus, who would purge his people. E, they deserted God's ordinances. 1. God charged them with deserting his ordinances, Malachi 3:7. 2. Their tithes, the lack thereof, as a case in point, Malachi 3:8 through 12. A. They had robbed God by their failure to offer their tithes, Malachi 3:8. For this reason the whole nation had been accursed, Malachi 3:9. C. They were challenged to bring the tithes to see the blessing that would follow, Malachi 3:10 through 12. F. They despised God's service. 1. They said it was vain to serve God, Malachi 3:13 through 15. 2. Their words were harsh against God, Malachi 3:13. 3. They questioned what profit there was in keeping his ordinances, Malachi 3:14. 4. Calling the proud blessed, saying the wicked are raised up, and those who tempt God go free, Malachi 3:15. Such were the circumstances in the generation or two that followed the restoration of Israel. Today, many of us are a generation or two removed from a similar restoration by our ancestors. Might we be guilty of similar sins? Part 1 of 2.